Let's call this meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lemak,
Here.
Dr. Lee Corns, Mr. Stepanovich,
Here.
Mr. Spadero,
Here.
Mr. McKenna,
Here.
Mrs. Ling,
Present.
Mr. Dice,
Here.
Mayor Simon.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mr. Nestico, do we have any unlisted amendments this evening?
None for this evening.
Thank you. All right, council, that brings us to our consent calendar items. Are there any questions or concerns about the consent calendar items? Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the consent calendar items.
Second?
Thank you, Tony and Carl. I'll just note that I'm abstaining from any payments to KU Resources as I've done work for them. With that being said, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to comments by Mayor Simon. Mayor?
Thanks, Mr. Dice. We have some slides here for this evening. Their first one is, again, this is kind of a repeat, but the state junior Legion team, who was state champions this year, had a visit to Harrisburg with our state representative, Bob Brooks, yesterday. We're very proud of them. I thought I'd show you a picture here this evening of them. Next slide, please. The curbside leaf collection program, we're coming up on the last date, December the 3rd. Republic Services handles that. They do a municipal-wide sweep of the leaf and yard waste, but you have to fill out the curbside leaf collection program form for them to stop by your house. Otherwise, they just don't stop. So they might not even be on your street if somebody doesn't request it. So there's a 20-bag limit. The deadline to sign up is the Thursday before the pickup date of December 3rd. Santa Sardis is just around the corner. As you all know, this has been a very successful event for the municipality. Saturday, December 3rd, 1 to 4 at Sardis Park, Rocky Hill Lane. Join us at the park for s'mores, a bonfire, carriage rides, and Santa to kick off the holiday season. Parking is limited. Please carpool if you can. Bring a chair to enjoy the bonfire. As usual, for more information, MurraysvillePARecreation.com or call here at the 327-2100 number, extension 131. Next, Murraysville and Hempfield Parks jointly are sponsoring a bus trip to People's Gas Holiday Market. This will be Wednesday, December 14th. Stop 1 at Hempfield Park at 9 a.m. Stop 2 at Murray's View Shops at 9:30. Leave the market at 3 p.m. $35 per person. Light snacks provided. Registration will open on November 1st. Please register online at the MurraysvillePARecreation.com or by mail or in person at 4100 Sardis Road here at the Municipal Building. Next is the Murraysville Recreation Gift Wrap Party, Thursday, December 15th, 6:30 p.m. at the Murraysville Community Center. Wrap all of your gifts away from your children's prying eyes. Chat with friends while you wrap. Bring an adult beverage to enjoy. Share and swap wrapping paper and supplies. Same registration, MurraysvillePARecreation.com. Or the phone numbers, again, 327-2100, extension 131. Walk-ins are welcome. We still have, next is the glass recycling pop-up collection event, which is Saturday, December 10th at the Veterans Field parking lot, 4200 Sardis Road, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sponsored by the municipality of Murraysville and Republic Services. Residents are also encouraged to support the Loaves and Fishes Emergency Food Pantry by donating non-perishable food items. Food pantry volunteers will be at the pavilion accepting drive-through donations during the same hour. That concludes my announcements for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That brings us to comments by the Chief Administrator. Mr.
None for
Nestico?
this evening, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to community input, where people from the community can say whatever they like, so long as it's around 3 minutes. Okay. We actually have some takers this evening, so we'll just go in order. Is it Kate Manra? Menka, sorry.
Yeah, but I thought I got 4 minutes. What happened to 4 minutes? That's school board. Oh, that's school board. Sorry. I've been here in a while. Okay, Kate Manka. I live here in Murraysville over in School Road. I want to address the idea of this amphitheater that people are talking about. And really basically what I want to say is times are hard, people. I don't know a lot of people in this municipality who want to hear that we're spending upwards of $2 million on an amphitheater. That's a big, big expenditure. And we all know that once a project gets going like that, it ends up costs way more than what everybody projects. Not only that, but I would like to know who will be in charge of approving whatever events are going to be at this amphitheater. Because if it's just going to be a free-for-all, we're going to get people from all over the place coming here for events. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but let's face it, you're going to get some riffraff. That's just the way it is. We all have safety concerns, especially we know what happened at the school. Things can happen anywhere. So that's the first thing that pops into my mind when I think of a big venue like this with, all kinds of people attending. It's really, for me, would be important to know what kind of events are going to be there and who's approving them. But the bottom line is, I myself am not convinced of the necessity, and I know a lot of people in the municipality who just aren't convinced about it either, much less the cost. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to the next individual on our list, Jeanette Pavlik.
Good evening. Jeanette Pavlik, and I live in Murraysville. My address is on the list there. I could tend to agree with what the previous speaker said. Given the cost and the location of the amphitheater, it is particularly at this high price of $1.86 million, not a good idea. How's the community going to benefit from this? Besides the shows, it's not a centralized location where businesses are, getting people to come there. And the shops, they're not going to benefit from this. I know you're going to have some kind of food trucks, but that's outside people. That's not Murraysville people, Murraysville businesses. Could be, but most likely it's outside people. And how do you know that Murraysville will utilize this or even want this? Do you know that? Have you asked people if they want it? I know I asked a couple people, they don't even go to the community park. Because of the location, maybe a couple people go to the water park, and I know the ball fields are used. Who will pay for bringing the entertainment here? And who will pay for security? Will we pay for that? Anyone have any answers? Will this, like the previous speaker said, will this bring in drugs and theft to the area? When you're talking from 3,000 to 5,000 people, you are going to get those things happening here. This grant money isn't free. We are paying for it somehow. Will there be influences with giving this money to us? With maybe the shows, types of shows that we have coming in here? Who will pick the shows? And, or will there be some other influences to receiving this grant money? The federal government, they're really good at influencing people when they give money. And we have other money coming in. I haven't been able to grab hold of who the money is, just bits and pieces from the meetings. But I'd like to know that information as well. We're Murraysville. I mean, we don't need to get controlled by someone else outside of this community. That's why we've elected you guys. And to be fiscally conservative, really. The cost is too high. It's not easy money when you get grants. Just, keep that in mind. I appreciate it if you would. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That brings us to Paul Metzler.
Good evening. This is a follow-up to the highway noise situation by Mannerdale Farms area. I did receive a phone call from Gina Jones from Senator Pittman's office, and I believe that she also called you, Mayor?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, that they did get the approval to install both signs that we submitted. The one that says that it's illegal to use the retardant brakes in this community, and I was wondering, that's to be handled by the borough. I was wondering where we are with
I think
that.
the sign that you're speaking of, the state is going to install,
The state's going to install the one that you had the picture of.
the one that I had to
Yes.
drive it backwards.
Yeah,
and
the
we're gonna
state
install the other one?
is, they're manufacturing that sign to put up.
Okay.
They'll handle that one. The other one is the one that we presented from, that I had from Ardmore Boulevard.
Okay,
That had the red triangle
okay.
on the top of it. Gina says that's to be supplied by the borough.
by us.
Yes.
Correct.
And was wondering, basically where are we at with that part of the situation?
I'll have to defer that question to our Public Works Director. Do we have any progress on that sign yet, Bill?
Yes, we did. We need to sit with staff and get through all the legal parts of restricting an engine brake that's a safety feature on the vehicle.
Okay,
We're gonna get through that and we'll proceed on.
okay. So,
It's been posted for years, so.
Yes, and it's been approved by PennDOT to install the sign in that particular area near Mannerdale Farms. And we appreciate the support that we've had on that part of it. The second part is the highway noise situation, whether it be a sound wall or whether it be the paving and the concrete to try and reduce that noise. You heard the noise that's being made by all the trucks and the traffic, high traffic that we have through there, and the increased speed that people are traveling at in that area. Now, Gina said that PennDOT is going to approve putting asphalt at the intersection of Harrison City Road like they have at some of the other intersections, and I believe they're also going to do it near the entrance to Mannerdale Farms. What we want, has anybody talked to PennDOT about extending that for that less than a quarter of a mile area to reduce that noise that we're getting from the highway?
probably going to have to meet with the state rep and with either Pittman or now Senator Ward's going to be our
Yes.
senator here shortly.
And
Probably have to follow up with them to see if they've asked PennDOT to do that or not. I don't know if they've asked or not for that part of it.
okay.
I was focused on the signs first.
Yeah, because we had said we'd like to have a meeting with PennDOT, with the senator, and also with the borough here.
Why don't you give Gina a call tomorrow and see where they're at on that?
Yeah, I talked with her the other day. She said that she was going to go back to them
Okay.
again and mention it, or see what's involved with getting that area. I mean, I know there's a cost involved with it, but there may also be funds available because of the Federal Aid and Highway Act of 1970, which was put into effect to protect the public and health and welfare and livability. And the noise out there it's not livable. It's very, very bad.
Let me know what Gina says as far as setting the meeting up, and I'll try to attend the meeting,
Okay.
okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
Please let council know as well. We'll see if we can have a representative there. So.
Oh, yes, yes, it definitely,
Okay.
you know, it's going to be a coordinated effort. As I said, whenever they were trying to eliminate all the trees along that area when they widened the highway, we couldn't have done it without the support of the mayor, the council, and the state representatives, so.
Absolutely. Well, let's try
Okay.
to do it again.
All right, thank you so much.
I have a question. Excuse me.
Paul,
Did you say that the sign was going to read that it was illegal to use the J brakes?
There's a particular language. If you notice the signs that are, as you come into Murraysville, the small sign there, it says that it's restricted use of retardant brakes in Murraysville, is the way that one's worded. The other one, I believe, said caution, truck alert, reduce the use of retardant brakes in this area.
Okay.
Those are the two. I believe we gave you pictures of both signs in the presentation. Yeah. Yes, yes, they approved both signs.
So what were you saying about having to work on the legality of that? Can you clarify that for me?
We're not really sure of the legalities. Before I think we want to do anything, we want to make sure that it's.
Bill, should you be using
Yes.
the microphone?
Yes.
I don't mean to put you on the.
It was approved by PennDOT District Executive William Kovac.
Yeah, staff needs some time to research the task we have at hand is probably the best thing to say at this point.
Because it's a state highway coming
It's
through a
safe-
municipality.
State
Also a
up.
safety feature, right?
It is a safety feature.
I was just wondering if that, I guess that's a topic for another time, how that would be enforced, I guess is my question, and the resources devoted to
Yes.
doing it. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. That brings us to our last speaker, Mr. Ed Mittenreiter.
Good evening, Ed Mitterator, 105 Park Lane, Murraysville, Pennsylvania. I have a couple of different things to talk about. Obviously, we've heard the amphitheater. I believe this has been a project that's been going on and been talked about for quite a long time. And obviously, I believe that the cost from the inception and the theory to where we're at today have really risen drastically. I know being in the materials business myself, I've seen costs going 30, 40, 50%. You heard previous people talk about grant money. That's all great, but that can run out and get dry real quick. So over the course of this proposed project, from the initial inception, how much has it actually gone up from day one? How many other add-ons, because I'm well aware of what add-ons and change orders are all about, how many add-ons and change orders have been possibly put into the overall cost of this project? And you're probably talking a big number. You're also looking at something that's going to get limited use. Have venues out there and it can benefit the community. You heard other people say who's in charge of what's coming in. That's a good question. Our great police force we have here, who's going to really enforce the safety and the security out there? That's something that needs to be looked at. Are the people that are bringing in these groups, are they going to bring their own security at their expense? Or is it going to be incurred on the municipality and our police department to enforce that? I know there was a study of feasibility about this way back when. Has another study been done? And maybe should it be looked at, again, taking a big picture look at the cost? Because I think there might be a real shock factor to numbers that have gone much higher than I think anyone anticipated. That out there in that area, will that infrastructure support the heavy traffic? I'm hearing 3,000 to 5,000 cars or more. that's a pretty small road to take all that car traffic on. And I know there's multiple places to park out there, but that's a lot of cars to go at one time. Who I guess we're, again, throwing that back on the default of the Murraysville Police to kind of police the traffic that's going to go out there, the flow. So I don't know if there was any kind of a traffic study done. Something else is a noise study. You know, depending on what kind of venue you bring in there, some people could be kind of quiet and docile, and others could be quite loud. And what does that do to the folks that are neighbors out there as to their personal feelings? I don't know if any of that kind of stuff was really taken into consideration. And of course, it all comes down to who's actually going to look at what we're bringing in and who's going to approve it. You heard that before. I think that's really important. This is kind of a little bedroom community, and not that we're not for growth and or bringing something in that could have some value to the businesses of Murraysville, but I don't think we want to bring riffraff and problems in here either. This is a pretty heavily older community, and I think a lot about the older folks and the impact that it's going to do on them. So these are just some of the things I hope that you folks all take a hard consideration to look at when you're talking money, because as you heard before, money's getting tighter and costs are going up. And so somewhere along the line, somebody has to pay for that, and that's usually called the taxpayer that, you know, is going to foot the bill. On a secondary note, what I'd like to talk about, and this is something in behalf of my wife, Valerie, who's in charge of the Murraysville Community Shelter Team here in Murraysville. And a lot of the residents here may not even know who or what we are, but in case of any kind of a disaster, there's a total group of volunteers that have gone through extensive training for the safety of the people in case you get displaced out of your home. Currently, the help of Pastor Dan Lawrence and Murraysville Alliance Church, we have mapped out and pretty much figured out that if we needed to use a facility, thanks to the kindness of Pastor Dan, his facility can be used, and we could probably bring in about 100 people or so, maybe a little bit for their safety if they need to be there. One of the things that Pastor Dan did is they had a generator brought into their church, because that's really important that if you have no power, you need a generator. The other facility that we looked at and was approved years ago, and that was actually in the budget with the COVID money from the government, was our community center, which would be a wonderful place to put it, especially for the seniors that are familiar with it. And I was told that there was a generator that was approved, and then it kind of got quieted, and we never heard anything more from it. Now, here we're talking something that between $20,000 to maybe $35,000, not $2 million. And I would hope that the council can somewhere find the wherewithal to put into the budget a generator that can be put in there for the good year-round, not maybe an occasional use, but this would be a year-round facility that only God knows when there's going to be a problem. You never know that. But in need, it'd be nice to have that facility be generator capacity so that we can also utilize that. Thank you guys so much for your consideration.
Thank you. I think as everyone knows, or let me ask this first. For the good of the order, would anyone else like to give citizens comment? Okay. I think everyone knows we've sent the amphitheater project down to our Parks and Rec Board for them to discuss, give us a recommendation of how to proceed, if to proceed. There were a lot of good questions asked tonight. I can say as far as the grants go, there's no strings attached to any grants other than sometimes we have to match the funds given. So Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, any politician who says, hey, I want this act there, didn't you get a grant for this? That's up to us. That's up to Murraysville, correct? Thank you. Everything else, I wrote down every question asked. I think every question asked was very good, but I don't think right now is the time to get into another discussion about that. Parks and Rec is going to give us the recommendation, and then council is going to have most likely a very robust discussion. And I'll make sure all of these questions get answered, and we're going to make sure everybody knows when that discussion is. That way, if you think of anything else, we can talk about it then. But again, it's not on our agenda tonight to truly debate this. I know everyone on council, every single person has something to say, so we're just going to save that for whenever we get the recommendation from Parks and Rec, and then whenever we have to actually vote on this. So with that being said, we're going to move on to liaison comments and committee reports. And,
You can start with me.
all right, yeah, let's start out.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, dovetail into it.
I'll start with Parks and Recreation. Just, the mayor already said, just a reminder for the San Sardis, great event. Usually have huge turnouts. The bonfire's been unbelievable. Thanks to Bill and the Public Works guys for all their work out there and getting that set up. So please join us, the community. It's really been a great event. That's really the main thing with Parks and Rec. We had, Parks and Rec did meet last Tuesday, and that was after the discussion that we had here at council. So a huge discussion was had in regards to the amphitheater. They talked about it a good bit in depth, about everything about that project. A lot of questions were asked by the people on the Parks and Rec board. The staff did go back and they put a briefing together that pretty much starts from the inception of the project back in 2016, I'm going to say, with what it was then in scope all the way to right now. It has every number associated with that, every amenity that was associated with that. All of those questions were kind of put into that to go back to them. So the Parks and Rec Board is reviewing that now, and we anticipate to have a recommendation possibly at the next meeting, if not at the second meeting in December, is when tentatively we believe that we'll have that recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Board on that. And so they're going to give, the Parks and Recreation Board is going to give me a written response for council to be read here. And then we'll have all that information available that was given to them here. And then we'll be able to have that discussion as council and do what we need to do here.
All right, wonderful.
That's kind of where things stand right now.
Thank you for the update.
Yep.
Jamie?
The school board met on Monday, November 14th. It was both a board and committee of the whole. There were no mutual concerns. It was a quick meeting. There's a meeting next month.
Okay. Tony?
Medic 1 meets tomorrow night.
Okay. Carl?
The Planning Commission met last week. I happen to be working the polls, so I don't have an input on that. The Parks and Recreation Foundation will meet this coming Monday.
Awesome. Jason?
The library meets tomorrow evening.
Okay, great. That brings us to our workshop items, and we're going to begin tonight with a discussion of the 2023 budget. Now, I believe this was added to the agenda just to see, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, that if any council people have any questions, concerns, the budget was presented, we had the big presentation. Now that you've had a couple weeks to digest, anything anyone can think of, now would be the time to bring it up.
I had a question on page 68. Under authorized number of employees for Director of Community Development, not going to be refilling that position?
I left my budget in the back room, but I think if you're asking about the salary, the position would be a contracted position, not a salary. So that may be the answer to your question. Would you want to come up here? Yeah. I'm sorry. Grab a chair.
You said page 68?
Page 68.
That's special purpose section.
Am I looking at the wrong one?
This is
I think Jim's.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why that's listed as 0 is because we're still going to keep Jim on, but he would be contracted, so he wouldn't be an employee for purposes of payroll.
Where would that be then in the budget?
It would be under the department. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's under contracted services under the community development department. Now, I did speak with him, and he did say that he wants to be put on payroll because he wants the taxes.
Okay.
So that does need adjusted. That came up after this was done originally.
JC, we can't hear you.
Sorry. When this, can you hear me now? Okay. When we originally were going through, and we were going for line, it was thought that he was going into a contracted position, and the total for the wages was going under that line. After our last meeting, I had spoken to him, and he said that he actually does want to be a part of payroll. So that is getting adjusted. So the contracted services will then reflect a different number, and it will go into a part-time employee. But I have, normally those back numbers are listed as full-time employees, and he's going to be a part-time employee. So I don't know how, if you want me to reflect that maybe as a half number or something, just to show, instead of the contracted, I can make whatever adjustment, so it's more transparent.
Thank you.
But for now, those are in contracted services.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns about the budget? We will move on to our action items. I have a motion for 13A, please.
I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the Westmoreland County Transit Authority local share assessment.
Second.
Sure, this is just a routine item that we complete each year. The amount is $1,075.50 for next fiscal year, and this is for the County Transit Authority to run, I believe it's one bus route that comes through the municipality that travels from Arnold Palmer Airport through Delmont and along the Old William Penn Highway and out to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So is this like a typical, I'm not really familiar with public transit and how you get them to come to your area. Is this fairly typical, like Pat buses? So if they go through Holiday Park and Plum pays them to come
Yes.
to their area?
So I know,
So it's like subsidizing a for-profit business.
yeah, it kind of helps Westmoreland Transit be able to put the buses through certain areas. So we pay a small portion, and this amount has remained the same since 2018. It hasn't increased at all. It is very typical. Anytime there's bus routes going through, they assess a share assessment.
Okay. I just wasn't familiar. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? I would just note that the amount in question is $1,375.50, so pretty nominal amount in the scheme of things. With that being said, if there's no further questions and concerns, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to 13B. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to consider approval of resolution number 76622, a resolution to dispose of certain municipal records in accordance with the state records retention policy.
Second.
Carl and Tony. Mike, anything to add?
Sure. This is, again, another item that requires council approval to dispose of any municipal records. This particular disposal comes by way of a resolution that includes different development plans, building permits, and other items that have met the expiration period. Typically, that's a 7-year period that you have to retain the records. Now, we do have these records preserved in digital format, but a lot of these records are disposal of the actual hard copy. And the resolution was attached in the supplemental documents. So you'll see it's a rather long list. As I mentioned, it include building plans, permits, some invoices and checks, and some other documents from the various departments, Parks and Rec, Finance, et cetera.
Okay. And again, we have this every few.
Nope.
I have a question, Michael. Not so much these documents, but on an ongoing basis, do we now digitize all records and so forth?
We try our best, yes. Most documents are submitted in digital form, and so we retain records through the different databases, whether someone's applying online for a park rental request or a building permit. The different departments have different submission forms, but typically they are digital. There are still a few things that have that we haven't gotten updated into a digital format. So when we accept the paper records, that's an example of what you see in this instance, where we have to maintain that record. But otherwise, we maintain those digital databases. We don't delete anything from there. And then any paper documents that we do get in, we do try to scan them. We have a part-time employee that does a lot of scanning throughout the day, a lot of engineering and building records, but other records as well. So we are trying to digitize as much as possible. Internally, we have a wealth of digital documents. The next step in the process is maybe organizing those in an easier catalog to access. So we have quite a few digital records, and it's, I guess, a work in progress as far as organizing things.
And there is a backup to that digital?
Yes, they are stored on, I believe, 2 different cloud services, so to speak, so that we have a backup to the backup, if you will.
Okay. Further questions or concerns? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for covering that. That brings us to Public Works and Parks. We have 16A. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to consider authorization to advertise for bid the sale of used municipal vehicles and equipment.
Second.
Let's go Mac and Tony. Yep.
Good evening. This is our way of periodically selling off things as far as surplus equipment or used equipment that's either out of date or not used anymore. This year, we intend to sell 3 garage doors of various sizes, 1 light tower from Korean War days. It was a surplus military unit. We can't get parts for that anymore, and there's some usable parts, but it doesn't run. We look to get rid of a Peterbilt dump truck. It's 2007. It's been replaced by the new one here this year. And we also look to get rid of a 1991 Mack tank truck. This was the Sardis tanker back in the day, 2013. And we've used it since to haul brine water and fill our rollers and millers whenever we were doing summer work. That truck has frame issues as well as the 2007 Peterbilt. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put it on municipal bid. We use municipal bid. It takes us out of any kind of deliberations with a seller. They do all the deliberations. We just sign over the vehicles and collect a check.
Simple enough.
Sure.
Questions or concerns? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any old business from anyone this evening?
I have a question. I think 2 of the speakers tonight brought up the traffic infrastructure. Could all of council get a copy of that traffic study?
Which study are you referring to? For the amphitheater?
The amphitheater.
I don't know if a study was done. I could certainly look. I'm not sure if anybody else has information on that. I'm not aware of a traffic study being conducted for that.
I think it's required by ordinance to have a traffic study done.
Do you know which ordinance? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I looked it up earlier. I can send it to you. Ordinance 955-16, section 201-141.
Can you mention the section one more time?
Unless I'm reading it incorrectly. 201-141.
Okay. I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of whether it has or has not been done. I could certainly look into that, get some answers for council.
If it hasn't, I think it would be definitely something that would be of good use if there's going to be a lot of traffic on that road.
Sure. And I I don't want to get into the debate as council president said, but I think that an anticipation or an expectation that there will be 3,000 to 5,000 attendees or vehicles to some of these events is I think a drastic number. I wouldn't expect to see events like that, at least in certainly in the short term, if not the long term. But that's a rather large event, so I wouldn't expect to see that amount of vehicles. But again, in the spirit of council's desire to address this in one cohesive, I don't want to go too far off track, but we can look at the requirements of the ordinance. I can find out whether a study has been completed or not. I don't know that answer. And if it is warranted or required, then we'll have to look into that.
Okay, thank you.
You said 9:55?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can talk afterwards.
There's 16.
Not seeing it. Okay, what about new business from anyone? Hearing none, no executive session, no pending action. One more motion, please.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.